Hi, Don Jose Negociante Lapod. So this afternoon, I'm going to present to you how much I can earn with Airbnb. So there are a lot of people or some of my friends are asking me, Don Jose, how much did you earn from your Airbnb? And I also received a text message or even a personal message from a friend, a sales agent from a condominium, motivating me to buy a piece of condominium, but she offered me a sample computation that is far beyond from reality. So this afternoon, I'm going to present to you how much I can earn with Airbnb for a studio type condominium unit. So there are ways to earn. First is your night stay. Usually, the average price for night stay would cost you about 550 pesos to 950 pesos. But if you would go beyond that price, expect that you have only few guests that will be checking into your unit. But that price range would depend on months or some activities. There are some months that are higher in check-in, or there are some months that are fewer check-in. Next is you can also earn from your additional guests. For me, I charge 300 pesos for my additional guests. And also, you can earn from your cleaning fee amounting to 500 pesos and also for your linen fee of 100 pesos. So I would give you a sample computation of one guest for 5 days stay. So I have here my computation. Night stay amounting to 550 to 950 pesos times 5 days, that would give you a possible income of 2,750 to 4,750, plus the cleaning fee of 500 pesos and the linen fee of 100 pesos, that would give you a possible or potential income per guest amounting to 3,350 pesos to 5,350 pesos times 6. Why I made it times 6? Because I presume that there would be 30 days in one calendar month. So I just tried to multiply it to 6. That would give me a total of 30 days. And it would give me a possible or potential income of 20,100 to 32,100 per month. That would be for my gross monthly income. Next, I would give you a computation for 2 guests with 5 night stay. So, same, a night stay of 850. Why 850? I just get the 550 plus 300 for the additional guest. It would give me a amount of 850 per guest, for 2 guests, to 2,250. That's 950 for my maximum range of my night stay, plus the 300 pesos additional guest times 5 days. That would give me a potential income of 4,250 to 6,250. Plus the cleaning fee of 500 and the 100 pesos linen fee, that would give me a possible income for 2 guests amounting to 4,850 to 6,850. As usual, we would try to get our monthly income. I multiplied it to 6. That's 6 times 5. That would give me a 30 days stay for the guest. It would give me a potential income of 29,100 to 41,100 pesos per month. Basically, if you would try to see that figure, you would be encouraged to buy a piece of condominium and try to start your Airbnb business. Am I right? But we will try to compute first how much annual income that we can get. Our annual income for one guest, it would give us a range of 241,200 pesos to 385,000 pesos. That would be a big sum of money for one guest. But how about if you have 2 guests? It would give you a potential income of 349,200 pesos to 493,200 pesos annual gross income. It would really give a sense that you would really try to buy a new condominium unit and try to invest it with Airbnb. But unfortunately, it's just a gross annual income. I am presenting to you a 100 bed occupancy rate. But based from my experience, it's not always 100%. We would just try to give a range of 40 to 80% occupancy rate. So the lesser number of guests, of course, the lesser income that you can get, right? So always try to think the other side. Do not just try to think for the potential. It's just the potential income, but not really the actual income. But you also have to try to think for possibilities of fewer guests, and it would give you a fewer income. But now, let's try to talk about our expenses. Of course, we cannot get our net profit or our profit if we would not try to talk about expenses. So what are those expenses that we are going to consider? Of course, first is the monthly amortization. If you would try to buy a condominium unit and you would have it through bank financing, of course, you would try to pay for your monthly amortization. But I'm not including the 10% down payment or the reservation. Of course, we are thinking that you already have it by bank financing and you already pay your monthly amortization. Next expenses would be association and monthly dues. Your association and monthly dues would depend on the area of your unit. It is per square meters computation. The smaller your unit, the smaller or the lesser your monthly dues, but the bigger your unit, the bigger would also be your monthly dues. Next is housekeeping. Of course, if you want to have an Airbnb property, or you would go into Airbnb property, you have to have your housekeeping. But if you wanted to say, of course, you can clean it yourself. But for us, a busy people who have another job other than Airbnb, of course, you would really try to hire other people to clean your unit. So that would be another consideration that you have to consider. Next is electricity, the basic. Electricity, water, and of course, cable and internet connection. The most common queries that I got from my guests, they'll always try to ask me, how fast is your internet connection? How many channels is your cable? Of course, we would expect the faster the internet connection, the more expensive would be our monthly fee, right? The more channels, the more expensive it would become. Am I right? So you have to consider that. Next is cleaning materials. Of course, you have to buy all your cleaning materials, from disinfectants to a glass cleaner to soap, and all those cleaning materials you need to clean your unit before your guests, before they check in and after they check out. Of course, you have to clean your unit so that you could have a better review of your unit, because guests would also try to give you review. And Airbnb requires also review for you to become a super host. Next is maintenance budget. What is this maintenance budget? Maintenance budget, I intentionally prepared my annual budget. That's an annual budget intended for my air condition cleaning. Of course, I usually clean my air condition twice or every quarter, depending on the usage. It would cost me about 600 pesos to 800 pesos, depending on the type of air condition. If you have a window type, it is basically cheaper than a split type air conditioning unit. Next is you also have to consider broken faucets, broken showers, and all those other things that are being used by your guests. You have to maintain it in good, proper condition, and you have to allocate your maintenance budget for 1 year. So this would be my sample computation. The expenses. If you talk about monthly amortization, I'm just getting a rough estimate of 16,500. You would be paying that to the bank. If you would have a loan, about 15 years loan, it would probably give you a 16,500 monthly for your condominium unit for a studio type. Your association or monthly dues, a rough estimate of 1,850 per month. Your housekeeping, of course, you would pay your housekeeping. That would be 300 pesos per cleaning times 6, provided that you have guests after every guest. So that would be 6 times. Your housekeeping would clean your unit for 6 times, and it would give you a budget of 1,800 pesos per month. But what if you don't have guests? What if you only have 60% occupancy rate? So once your guest would check out, of course you would ask your housekeeping to clean your unit. Then what if 3 days after you have another guest? Of course, you would let your housekeeping go back to your unit and clean it up again, and another 300 pesos that you would be paying. So that would be an additional expenses for a month, and it's basically my rough estimate of 1,800. Next is electricity. We would just try to give about an estimate of 6,500, but depending on the usage. But sometimes there are some guests that would not turn off their air conditioned unit. They would try to get out from your unit, they would try to go out, and yet they would try to on your air conditioning unit, and it would consume electricity. And you would not expect a 6,500 allocation for your electricity. It could be lesser or it could be more than 6,500 pesos. Next, for the water, a rough estimate of 500. It's basically a rough estimate, but it could go below 500 or above 500 depending on your guest usage. What if you have a bathtub in your unit and your guest would stay for 5 days and she would take a bath 5 or twice or 3 times a day using your bathtub? Of course, that would increase your water consumption for a month. Am I right? What if your cable and internet connection, you would get a higher or faster internet connection just like mine? I use my Sky Broadband and it would cost me about 1,599 per month for my cable and for my internet connection. The toiletries, of course, you would provide the basic toiletries like tissue papers, the soap, the shampoo, the toothpaste, the basic needs that your clients need. So I allocated 40 pesos per check-in times 6. That would give me a rough estimate of 240 pesos per month for my toiletries. And what about cleaning materials? I budgeted 500 pesos, but sometimes it's go far beyond 500 pesos because you have to buy some air freshener, you have to buy some furniture polish so that it will try to maintain the shyness of your furnitures and of course the cleanliness of your unit. But it would go farther beyond 500 pesos for your cleaning materials. And for my maintenance budget, I just computed my annual budget of 5,000 per month. That would give me 416 pesos 66 centavos. That would be my allocated budget per month for my 5,000 annual maintenance budget. And it would give me a total expenses per month of 29,905.66 pesos per month. And it would give me an annual budget of 358,867.92 pesos per year. That would be the total expenses. Could you just try to imagine your gross income, annual income, and your gross expenses? It's too high. And that's basically your expenses is sometimes steady, or sometimes it would go far beyond if you would not do cost cutting. It could sometimes be more than 360,000 per year or 400,000 per year, depending on your guest usage. But our gross annual income would possibly be lower or higher. But for my computation, that's a 100% bed occupancy. It could never go far beyond my computation rate. So this would be how much I earn. For one guest, possible of 241,200 to 385,200 for one guest. But for two guests, possible income of 349,200 to 493,200. So we would just try to get the average or the range. So we would try to get the lowest range for the one guest and the highest range for the two guests. That would give us a rough estimate of 241,200 to 493,200 possible gross annual income, minus our expenses of 358,867.92 pesos per year. That would give us a net monthly income of negative 9,805.66 pesos, or a positive 11,194.34 pesos monthly income. Isn't it amazing? Do you still want to go to Airbnb? So, please never believe your sales agent. They will just try to give you a sample computation that is far beyond from the actual presentation. You would not expect a 100% occupancy rate, but better expect a lower occupancy rate for you not to be frustrated. Because as what my idol Catriona Gray always try to see things with a silver lining. So never be discouraged. If you really want to go for Airbnb, think of it. But remember, you can also earn as much as 134,332.08 pesos annual net income or negative 117,667.92 pesos. So it's a win-win situation. So you have to think before purchasing a condominium unit. Never try to think for a positive figure, but always try to think of possibility that sometimes you would get a negative figure. But one thing I would try to give you a point that to remember, what are the factors that would affect our potential earnings? So of course, being an entrepreneur or a businessman, we always try to think for potentials. So one, potentials of that would affect our earnings is during lean months. Lean months that there are no guests occupying, there are less guests occupying, you also have to consider that. Next is too high night stay prices. Guests would always try to look for a cheaper option. If you would try to raise your price higher than the others, of course, expect you cannot get a guest for your unit. Always try to use your smart pricing because that would be your basis of a rate that is basically a fair rate, that is a competitive rate to other hosts or to other competitors that we have in our market. Next is too late to respond to guest queries. Sometimes your guests would message you early in the morning or sometimes late at night. Always try to make it to the point to respond them the soonest possible time. Because sometimes if you would not, or if you fail to answer their queries, you would lose that possible guest. And lastly, poor ratings to your Airbnb. But for me, the poor ratings would not matter much. Because there are times that your guests would ask you a favor. Like for example, for what I have experienced. I have a guest, a foreigner, with a Filipina girlfriend. They wanted to use the other room for their family, for the family of the for their family to use, but they only reserved 2 guests. Of course, that would be very unfair for me if I tried to open the other room, and yet the reservation is only for 2. I asked for additional payment, but they didn't give me additional payment. But sad to say, during their checkout, they gave me a rate of 2. And it pulls down my rating from 4.8 to 4.6. So sometimes, rating would not affect you. As long as you respond to your guests or the inquiries of your possible guests the soonest possible time. Because what is important in hosting is that you would give an assurance to your guests that anytime or whatever happens, you are ready to answer their queries and they feel secure that their reservation is legit, their reservation or they can be properly accommodated because you are very responsive to all their needs. So I hope that this video presentation would help you think further if you're going to buy or purchase a condo unit, or you would just try to use your idle spaces. From my first video, how you start your Airbnb business, I mentioned that it is better to start from your idle spaces before buying or purchasing a condo unit or a property for Airbnb use. So I give you now the actual or the sample computation of possible potential earnings, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you would pursue your inclination to be an Airbnb host. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel. For more videos and updates, please don't fail to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.